Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. Well, first, every day we rise is a great day to be alive, and welcome to Boston Coffee Talks morning show. James Lim Overton here, and I'm here with co-host Leah Drake Stitt. And before I get started, please like, subscribe, comment, and share the show today. Good morning, Leah. How are you?
I'm good. How about you, James?
All right, good to have you back after
Thank you.
an absence, but hopefully, looks like the Colonel is coming on now, so.
Oh, this should make for interesting conversation with the Colonel back. Hello,
Yes, the
Colonel.
Colonel's
How
back.
are
Well,
you?
we
Well, hello there.
it's been a while since we had the all the originals back here. So
Yeah,
what a interesting time for us to all be back together. So we've going to talk. Good morning, Colonel, and
yeah,
representing Behold.
yes. Green and gold.
Green
Yes.
and gold.
So we want to talk. We slated to talk about Project 2025, which we hopefully we'll talk about all the way up to the election because it seems like some of the supporters of this project been trying to kind of water it down, saying
And
it's just something
we're
normal
getting
that they
way out
do.
of it now.
So
Yes.
we have to keep talking about it, let them know and pull it out certain sections of it so people can really know, what it's all about. But before we get there, briefly, over the weekend, the former president, and this gets me to Colonel, how I guess it depends on who's talking. Is a former president, should he be addressed as president? It depends on who's talking. Some people say President Trump, and I keep hearing that, and I heard from news outlets, and I would think they would know. You got to put that former in front of it, or just call him Trump or Donald Trump. He's not the president. But anyway, I digress. But just wanted to talk just briefly about that. But before we go that, I want to play this and bear with me. This is something from Fox News, and it's actually one of the Fox co-hosts debunking one of some of the lies that somebody was up there telling. So.
Comments about the fact that electing somebody would be the end of democracy, as we know it, that kind of thing. We had former Attorney General Bill Barr say last night, Democrats have got to stop their grossly irresponsible talk about President Trump being an existential threat to democracy. He is not. Where do we go in our political conversation? I mean, this country is built on being able to disagree and do it in a very heated way.
I do want to push back on what David was saying about essentially saying that this is a problem that came from the Democratic side. And
This is
I
a
would hope
Fox
that we could take a
co-host.
little time off before we get to this. But the rhetoric out of the Republican side, out of Donald Trump himself or Don Jr. about the attack on Paul Pelosi, mocking him, making it aware that this was some gay sex event, right? And wasn't a terrible attack by someone who was politically motivated and could have taken his life. That is the genesis of this. This goes back to 2016.
In the wake of yesterday's abhorrent assassination attempt of former President Trump, there has been, as you can imagine, a variety of responses. Most notably, there has been unanimous condemnation amongst the Democratic Party, spearheaded by the president himself.
I spoke with Donald Trump. I'm sincerely grateful that he's doing well and recovering. And we had a short but good conversation. Jill and I are keeping him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victim who was killed. He was a father. He was protecting his family from the bullets that were being fired. And he lost his life. God love him. We're also planning for the full recovery of those who were injured. We're grateful to the Secret Service agents and other law enforcement agencies and individuals who risk their lives. There is no place in America for this kind of violence or any violence for that matter.
However, as one can also come to
I just wanted to play that response by the current president and showing the difference between him and the former president and the humanity he shows when the former president just mentioned those people in passing while he was talking about himself. So just wanted to let people know the difference between those two. But as far as the assassination attempt, how do you all feel about that? I was telling Leah earlier, as soon as I saw it, I said, "Oh my goodness, this is going to be a Trump propaganda, Trump
That's right.
propaganda
Promotional piece.
things, especially with him being able to raise his hand." And Colonel, I was telling Leah that I saw some ex Secret Service people say, once they cover you like that, you never see the person again. You know, once those Secret Services cover you and it's still a threat,
Right. That's right.
they don't get a chance to come back up
Yeah.
and raise their hands. And he did that several times, but you know, how that happened. But anyway, so how do y'all feel about that? You feel the same? Well, we know he's going to use that as part of what's going on. Then you got these theories out there that it was all planned. You know, it's kind of, you know, I can't quite go there. You know, I mean, you have to really trust somebody. Say, just shoot past my ear. You know, so. But I believe that guy was really trying to kill him. But go ahead.
Well, I know you've been waiting on this one, and I've been burning up. But what I really want to say, I can't say.
No, don't, Colonel. Don't.
Yeah, I can't say. But I will say that, yes, with his fists up in the air, and with the Secret Service allowing him to do that, each and every one of those Secret Services agents should be fired, taking them off detail to allow him to do that. That's case one. Case two is political assassination should not be legal in this, is not legal in this country. But we also say that Trump's own lawyers before the Supreme Court have argued for political assassinations. So that's number two. So if we go to number three, you look at all the time that Trump has been out there, and I'll just call him Trump because I hate to say he's former president, this convict, this felon, rapist, Trump. He and the whole GOP have remained silent against all the mass shootings in this country over the last 10 years or over decades. Remains silent against all the mass. Got feedback there.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, they are remain silent, and the only words they have are prayers and comfort to the families and victims, and that is it. And other than that, they remain silent up until their orange Jesus gets a bullet across his ear, and we'd have a different discussion if it was 3 inches over. We'd have a different discussion today. And so now they're up all in arms. Turn down the rhetoric. Turn down and we need to come together all of a sudden. Yes, we need to turn down the rhetoric, but only on their side. That clip that you saw, you played from Bill Barr. Bill Barr does not have any credibility. He was the attorney general that should have charged Trump way back, has been his man ever since he was appointed for the attorney general. And so he has no credibility. The GOP has no credibility in this issue. And what we're going to see during the RNC convention this week is a tone down, come down to trying to unify and to whitewash their what they want to do to this country. They actually want to end democracy, basically, and institute through the back door Project 2025. And so the Democrats in America should not fall for this crap, this propaganda that they're getting ready to put on you for the next week and until the election comes up. Don't fall for it.
Yeah, and Leah, before you speak, just to back up what the Colonel says, here's someone from the RNC.
To expect in a country so divided, an insatiable amount of conspiracy theories and unsubstantiated claims have been given a platform, mostly on X, thanks to Elon Musk's help.
I think it's generally true. Most Americans do love their country. One thing that I have found upsetting, if I can editorialize for 1 second, is the degree to which so many Americans claim to love their country but hate their fellow Americans. And I'm not talking about Republicans or Democrats. I see it everywhere. everywhere. And I'm wondering if that's something that concerns you too.
It does. That's what I said. The greatest threat to our nation right now is that we're horribly divided. But again, in general, we share the same goals. So, why are we so divided? Well, there are political figures, there are political groups. I would argue that's what identity politics is about. That's what critical race theory is about. So there are people who are purposely trying to divide us for political advantage. Resist it. Don't let them get away with it. And again, start
Gymnastic.
It's something about how we all love our country.
Okay, enough of that. And that was a CNN reporter leading him in this NCA, RNC member to that question. And just what you were saying, Colonel, now they're calling for unity and all that. So
Now they
you have
want
to back up
civility.
what you said. That's what, that's what,
Yeah.
that's what's out there.
The CNN reporter should have even took it to the next day. When the minute they say critical race theory, the minute they say woke agenda, you should be saying, yes, why do you still use the code word for racism? You are a racist. Why should I be talking to you? That's why the country is divided now, because you are trying to whitewash history and also turn this into a white nationalist country. You look at the senator from Kansas, Josh Hawley, that got on just before the assassination attempt, saying that yes, he supported white nationalism. So at the head of his party, him, Ted Cruz, even though on both of those folks are up for re-election this year, that's what they want. They want to have this a neo-Christian white-led country in the future. And that's what we're tasked against. And yes, people won't want to use this word, but we are really at war for democracy in this country. Meaning we have to pull out all stops, not to what they want to do, but we need to tell the people that saying, yes, if you elect these GOPers, this convicted felon, Mr. Trump, then you have basically said that democracy is gone. There will be no more free elections. There will be no more birth control. There will be mass deportations of all Hispanics, mass deportation, and there will be mass encampments of Black folks who protest. Any protest, you'll be sent to a concentration camp, just like the Japanese in World
War II.
in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be that, and that's not even as bad as what it's going to be. If you look at what's going to happen in Project 2025, it's going to be worse than that. This will have an economic catastrophe with him at the thing. Did you see where Mr. Felon Trump wanted to he's floated abolishing income taxes? So, and then put a tariff on goods coming over.
Items imported.
Yeah.
All
So that
imported
tariff
items.
will have to be almost 100%. So all goods will be at least twice as much as costing what it is now. At least.
Yeah.
So,
It's
yeah, and that burden share of running this government is on working and poor folks. And there's more poor folks in the white sections in the world than there are of us, but they don't care about them. And they're the same ones that are at this Trump rally. I saw, I think the guy who was killed was a fireman or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, his family, he lost somebody, but I'll hold it from there, what I really want to say. But you was at the Trump rally. You're a Trump supporter.
Yeah. I almost want to hear what you have to say, Colonel. But first, let's see what Leah had to say. And it's really strange. Well, not strange, but it's really funny how, this happened and everybody's surprised. But this is what this guy's been talking all along. Knock the guy out, and I'll pay for your legal fees,
That's
and
right. That's
making
right.
jokes about Nancy Pelosi's husband being attacked, and that they've been creating this kind of atmosphere all
Exactly.
along. So eventually, somebody was going to take a shot. I don't know why they didn't think that the violence would turn around on him.
Yep.
But this is what happens, and it sometimes it just takes one person to start it, and he better be careful. Trying to use this to be a model, he might end up that way.
3 inches, 3 inches, 3
Yeah.
inches, and we'd have a different discussion.
Have a different discussion.
Oh yeah, I got my jail him on shirt today.
Yeah.
What? Where'd you
you're
find
coming
that,
with those t-shirts. Coming with those t-shirts, right?
Yeah. So,
Hey.
so I'm not
Leah?
pulling my political ads down like the DNC did.
Yeah.
I keep up the fight.
Leah?
Well, we can see him using this for marketing. It's a shame that he would use it for such. However, he claims that he's rewriting his speech for the RNC, and we'll have to wait to see what happens with that. But Slim, there's so many conspiracy theories out there as to what occurred and how it occurred out there, and it's sad to see and to listen to the other side talking about tone down the rhetoric, and it has been the rhetoric from that side that has put us in the position that we're in today. They are the ones who've been espousing all this hatred, all of this, as you said, I can go on Fifth Avenue and I can shoot someone and I'd not have to pay a price for it. Maybe this young man felt that he could use the gun and he wouldn't have to pay a price for it. If it's good for you, it's good for me. So it's a sad place that we are now in America. Violence is not a way to correct this problem. It's more reasons why we need to get ourselves together, get your family together, get to the polls and vote. That is how we deal with this situation. And James, getting now to your I know we're talking about Mr. Trump, but I'm thinking about your Democrats right now. Those who are calling for Joe Biden to step down. However, there doesn't seem to be a plan of action as to who is to succeed him. They seem to be jumping over Kamala Harris. I think if they jumped over Kamala, I think that we will see a movement among people of color like you've never seen before. For them to feel that she is not ready to serve, that they can just bring someone in and serve in her stead. I'm glad to see the president is standing firm. He has met every term that they have put forth to him. Have a sit down with a reporter with no notes. Speak to a group with no notes. Let's see how you're going to galvanize the people. And it seems that the people are with him. The people are with the president. It's just those few. And if you look at the complexion of those who are calling for him to leave, you don't see a person of color among that list. I was listening to the Hispanic caucus. They're behind him 100%. The Black caucus is behind him 100%. And so he's met the criteria. He's met the criteria. And I think their whole thing is this. I just don't understand them. The Republicans, whatever that man does, whatever Trump does, you do not hear a dissent from the Republican Party. No one comes out and says anything when he does something. They stay behind him, lock, stock, and barrel. I guess you can't say that anymore. I guess that's some kind of red.
Lock, stock, and barrel. Yeah.
They stay behind him. However, Democrats, we're so weak. We're so milly mouse. We don't know how to stay together. That's one thing the Republican Party can teach them. How do you stay together? Democrats, we're so weak, we're so mealy mouse, we're so afraid. Instead of getting there and work towards making sure that we win this election, they're so busy fighting among themselves. They need to come together. He is the nominee. Unless he decides he does not want the position, he is the nominee. Stand behind this man. Help him to win this election. We cannot afford to lose this election in 2025. We cannot afford to lose the Senate. We can't afford to lose the House. We cannot afford to lose the presidency. This Project 25, they plan to implement in 180 days after this man becomes president. Now, I know many of us are not looking to dissect 900 pages, and I think that's why they felt comfortable putting it out there. You know, we put it out there, you know, and these people of color, they're not going to read this thing. Who's going to read 900 pages? But I'm so happy to see that we got young law students, the Yale law student. If you go on TikTok, Roland Martin show, young Yale law student who broke it down. She broke that whole thing down. Joy Martin on today at 7 o'clock, unless they change it, because they've changed a lot of the airings on MSNBC, all dealing with the attempted assassination of Trump. But Joy Reid at 7 p.m. is going to break down 2025. People, we have to pay attention. We have to. They're talking about banning no-fault divorces. You know, they're talking about ending Head Start. They're talking about. I mean, these things are going to impact ending the Department of Education.
Yeah,
you know?
and want to get into that. And when you said lock, stock, and barrel, if you look at some of the ads that some of the prominent Republicans have been putting out over the years, they are behind him, lock, stock, and barrel. I mean, most of their ads, including Margaret Taylor Greene, them shooting high-powered rifles and blowing up cars that say, you know, certain things. So they are behind them, lock, stock, and barrel. And
That's
it's two issues that come out of this, you know, sensible gun control, because the young man that used the gun, it was his father's gun. So, you know, even though a certain person might not be able to get a gun, but if their parents have it and don't have complete control or not responsible, then their children can get it. And it's obvious that this guy has some mental health issues. So those two issues, gun control, sensible gun control, and mental health, is involved in this. So, and going to the project.
But it's something they don't want to deal with, James.
Right. This is all a part of what we've been talking about. We've been trying to get through the legislative process for years, and it's been held up. But anyway, as far as the project 2025, I want to ask you all, start out with the conversation. We're going to be talking about this going forward. But I want to start out with what do you think, you know, the parts that you have read so far, and you mentioned a lot of them, Leah, how it's going to affect the localities, us locally here. You know, some things, some people say, well, that's a national thing, but there are some pieces in there. And if you want to, it has a table of contents. So if you can't read the whole 900 pages, you can go in the table of contents and pick out certain issues that might, you know, you think that might affect you. But I just want to know how you think these might affect us locally. And somebody told me that it shouldn't be an issue as far as our local elected officials, but I beg to differ in some issues. You know, it might not be something to bring up locally, but I would want to know how some of our local officials feel about some of the things mentioned in Project 19, because that would make a difference on how I would want to put that person in locally. And I was called on that, said, well, that has nothing to do with the local things, but to me, it has a lot to do, because before we never knew what affiliation they had politically, and now it's all coming out that who's Republican and who's Democrat, and that might not be as a bigger deal, you know, just being Republican or Democrat, but knowing how they feel about the project in general, you know, I would want to know that, because some of those things are going to come down to where our elected officials locally will have to vote on some things that Project 25 might bring down on us. So you want to know how they feel about that. And you can get an idea, I mean, that's my opinion. I just want to know how you feel. You think, first of all, do you think that the Project 2025 will affect us locally?
Most
And
definitely.
is it important to you
Most
how
definitely.
the people running candidates feel about certain issues of that Project 2025?
Most definitely, James. When you're talking about ending Head Start, that impacts upon us. When you talk about raising retirement age, that impacts upon us locally. Cutting Social Security, cutting Medicare, that impacts upon us locally. Hacking the Supreme Court impacts upon us locally. Uh, Condemning single mothers while promoting the traditional family, it impacts on us locally. Banning books, not teaching certain portions of African American history, it impacts upon us, people. Don't think whatever is trickling down from the national, it comes down to the local.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention. They're talking about higher taxes for the working class. You think that does not impact upon you? Elimination of unions and union protection, raising retirement age.
Yeah, especially when a lot of the local cities been dealing with collective bargaining, and then
Exactly.
all of a sudden that they can
All of a
just wipe that
sudden,
out on the national
cut it out.
scale, and whatever cities voted down here that could not mean a thing.
Ending the Affordable Care Act.
Mhm.
What's going to happen? A lot of people are here on Obamacare. So when they end Affordable Care Act, those who on Obamacare, you're coming off. I'm sorry. Eliminating the Department of Education. What in the world? Climate control. You feel that heat out there this past week? They talk about getting rid of NOAA, ending climate control. Could you imagine where we're going to be when they end climate control? You're just going to burn up. You might as well be in Hades, because the way that this weather is going, and the tornado and hurricanes, the largest number 5 hurricane ever in the history of the nation, hit us the earliest one this year. Hit this
And
year.
and Portsmouth has been reported the second hottest county or city in Virginia.
In
And
Virginia.
it's a study going on right now over the past weekend, and from now on the rest of the summer, about the climate here in Hampton Roads, and especially Portsmouth. So
Exactly.
if you don't think that affects us,
It affects
just
us.
believe the science, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You're talking about banning books and curriculum on slavery. They don't want you to know your history. It's bad enough that our kids don't know their history. Now they want to wipe it out. They want to wipe it out. And I mean, in civil rights and DEI protections in the government, that will impact upon you. I don't care what you say. So people, you got to get your head out the sand. If you don't want to read this, I mean, you got some great folks on TikTok who are really breaking this thing down for you if you don't want to read it. Expedite capital punishment. Who are the people who are usually impacted by capital punishment but people of color? So I mean, I can just end marriage equality. It's so many things going. Defund the FBI and Homeland Security. I can't believe it. They say that they can implement many of these things within the first 180 days of this man becoming president. Now, he claims he knows nothing about it. Yet many of the authors of this whole plan are individuals who were in his cabinet. They're people who worked for him. They're the ones who came up with this, with the Heritage Society. So don't sit back and act like these things are not gonna impact upon you, because it is. It and they're talking about getting rid of the Hispanics and people of Hispanic heritage. Who is out there in those orange groves picking those oranges in Florida so that your orange juice can be cheap? Who are the ones that are up on these tall buildings doing things in these bridges, like that bridge in Baltimore? Who was up there? They weren't Americans up there. They were the Hispanics. They're black jobs. They're gonna take your black jobs away. What is your black job? Okay. These individuals are doing jobs that we don't want to do. They're jobs Americans think is beneath them. Those are the jobs that they're doing. And if you deport these people, who Donald Trump gonna have working at his golf course? Who's he gonna have doing all the work that they do for him down there in Florida? Oh, he's talking about deporting everybody except those that he has working for him. I mean, my blood just boils every time I've been reading this Project 2025. I've been reading it, and the more I read it, the more my blood just boils.
And it's been going on since Reagan.
It has. It's a continuation.
And people, I mean, it's just they've got it in a book form, in a form where it's just spelled out. Everything is spelled out, but it's been going on, or this plan or what they wanted to do been going on since Reagan, and it's for any Republican who might be in office. But right now, it really fits Trumpism. Yes. It really fits it, because like you said earlier, a lot of the people that work for Trump are the authors of this. So of course it's going to sound like Trump. And he might not know. I mean, he knows in general what it is, but he only knows what they put in front of him. That's why he rambles on at his rallies and doesn't talk about anything of substance. Because anything that they give him to read, he always goes away from it. And he never talks about policies. He never comes up with numbers or what he's done, what he claims he's done for HBCUs.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
He doesn't know. That's why I say he might not know in depth about Project 19 like he says he knows about it. But most of it follows his Trumpism, and I call it Trumpism because that's kind of different from the Republican Party we know.
Exactly. And look at who his allies are. Viktor Orban, Xi, Putin. Man, you're talking about we will be in for it. I don't care what anybody says. They talking about it's not going to impact upon us, honey. It's going to have a major impact. It's going to have a major impact. We will not be respected by anyone in the world except Putin and Viktor Orban and Xi. That's it. That's his circle.
So people locally should be aware of this project. It's not something that you just see on CNN and say, okay, that's a national thing. I'm gonna deal with the potholes and which is important, the potholes and the things that's going on in my community. That's important too. You should because locally they're the only people that can deal with those issues. But you got to look at it on a grander scale. How this project can affect you, can trickle down and affect you locally. So you have to pay attention, so all these shows that go ahead, Leah.
When he packs the lower courts, okay, how are you going to have your rights taken care of when he packs these lower courts? You're talking about you move up from one court level to the next court level. If he's packing them with his folks, you ain't going to have no rights. I'm sorry. It's not going to exist. It's not going to exist.
You're already seeing that now.
Exactly.
With all the bad these political appointees, these guys that he put in the first time that is trying to overturn everything down there in Texas and down in the fifth in these circuit court judges and district court judges that have attacked from everything from affirmative action to birth control to IVF and everything else. They're going to have a two-pronged attack, meaning the court system is actually against us now. And now you'll have the whole legislative branch against us because they'll take over the Senate and the House. And then you back it up with the executive branch with the new king, Mr. Trump, as King Trump or Emperor Trump. Democracy is gone. They will do anything that they want to do. So Project 2025 is alive and well, will be implemented. and we will be cast back into the 18th century
You
where
better believe it.
yeah, and it'll be even worse than separate but equal back in the day. You'll go downtown and it'll be so bad as back in the day, you know, you had separate water fountains. You won't even have a water fountain now. You better bring your own water.
You better believe
Yeah,
that.
I'm just showing some of the comments from some of the people watching. And Lynette Richardson has made a comment. I'm showing her comment, and she sort of says what I said too. It's been going on for a long time. Thanks for watching, Lynette. And I also want to show thanks for Ernest Cassell,
Yes.
who's been watching, and he's resident of Portsmouth, and said he would want to know what's going on locally about, with this project 2025. So people are agreeing, and hopefully more people will pay attention so they'll know what's going on, and also, like you said, ask some of these candidates that are running now how they feel about some of those
Exactly.
issues nationally.
And
It's local is important, but you need to know how they feel nationally, because
exactly.
that can affect some things that happen to you locally.
Exactly.
Those people that wave off the national stuff, pay attention. You better wake up.
You better wake up. But
If they wave off the national stuff, then they don't need to be in office. Bottom line.
Exactly.
So it tells you don't. That's one person you don't vote for.
And Colonel, as you were talking about these judges in these lower courts, people look at the resume of many of those judges. Many of them have never tried a case in their lives.
Yep.
Never tried a case.
Yep.
They were put into office based upon them liking them, not their qualifications. Everybody Joe Biden has put on the courts have been highly qualified.
Yep.
Highly qualified.
Yes.
It's really scary when you look at the whole picture, but I'm hoping that people will start listening and paying attention. I know you're not going to read 900 pages, okay? But it said the best way to keep some folks from knowing what's going on, put it in a book, because they're not going to read it. But they put it in a book. They put it in a book so that they don't want you to read it. You don't have to read it, because you have a lot of people who are dissecting this thing. And it's broken down into chapters. If you want to read it, it's broken down into chapters. I've been trying to get into it. And as Ernest Cassell said, we also have to look at Agenda 47. We got to look at it, people.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention.
Yeah, and if you don't, you're not too keen on reading, or you can't get a hold of it, but you can download it on your computer and just go through it. But if you don't, you can go on online or go on YouTube and pick out certain shows that explain this to you. You got to pick. I would suggest pick out. Just watch different variety of shows so you can get an idea how it's really going. Because sometimes you watch one show and you can't depend on that as your only source. So look at a few different shows, and once all those shows are giving you pretty much the same information, you can be assured that you're getting the correct information. But the best way to do it is to read it, or to download that it's called the Mandate for Leadership. And just download it and go to that, like I mentioned earlier, go to that table of contents and just start from there. Most people just read the introduction, which is just a generalization of what it's all about. And it sounds pretty soft there. It sounds like it's just something that they're doing. But once you get into the thick of it, into the meat of it, it just tells you right in your face exactly what they want to do. And a lot of times it's not something that's going to be an advantage to you as a people, African Americans, or any
people of color,
any people that are not
of color.
Yeah, of color. Thanks. I was
That's
looking
right.
for that word.
That's right. But Cassell mentioned Agenda 47, and Agenda 47 expands the presidential powers. It also kind of reflects from Project 2025. They kind of work hand in hand, but the main thing is expanding his powers, which means we're no longer in a democracy, folks.
Yeah.
And I know some of you are saying, well, we don't live in a democracy now, but this democracy is better than what we will face should Trump become president.
Yes.
Yeah, and the Constitution originally was given the power equally to all three branches,
But they're talking about
legislative, and it seems like
they're talking about ending the Constitution. They don't want the Constitution anymore.
yeah, it seems like the legislative branch, who are the ones, the lawmakers, have the least power, with the Supreme Court taking over certain things, expertise, taking over uh, duties of people who have expertise in something. You know, I think I'm a judge. I think I can do it better. You know, and then expanding the powers of the presidency. So
even though I have no experience or any knowledge, real knowledge about what we're talking about, you know.
But I'm a judge. I'm a Supreme Court judge, so I know better than everybody. And you know, it's just crazy. And you know, we send representative to Congress, which have the least amount of power, which it should be equally spread. And it's already spelled out, like you said, in the Constitution. You know who has what powers, and we just stepping all over that.
Exactly.
And I guess they want, like you said, Leah, they want to replace the Project 2025 with the Constitution.
Yeah.
I mean, replace that
the Constitution
to the Constitution.
Project 2025 would become the new Constitution for America.
Yes. Slavery will be back for Black folks.
It will return.
Yes.
And some people, you know, say, "Oh man, that's far-fetched," you know, and that won't happen in my lifetime. But you know, oops, sorry about that. That won't happen in my lifetime. But you got to think about whose lifetime it might happen in. Your grandchildren, your children, your great-grandchildren.
That's right.
Even if it doesn't happen, but a lot of it's going to happen in your lifetime.
Exactly.
It could happen in the next year.
Yep.
You know, they haven't been planning this since Reagan for nothing.
And you know what? And I also encourage you all to go and look to see who the sponsors of Project 25 are. You're going to be amazed at some of the places that are there and sponsoring Project 2025.
Yeah, where that money is coming from. What they say, follow the paper trail.
Follow the money. Money take you right to where it's all beginning, you know. And they have a list of places that are in support of Project 2025.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really, all of it's to the advantage of the 1%ers.
Yep.
You see where
anybody below that, you know, you better watch out.
Elon Musk is giving a big campaign back donation to the Trump administration to keep him floated.
Mm-hmm.
And
because it's gonna be beneficial to him.
Yeah.
It's gonna be beneficial. You know, Warren Buffett said, if every billionaire paid, I forget the amount of money he said they paid, he said no one would ever have to pay income taxes in this country again. If every billionaire did their part, no one would have to pay taxes again in this country. But they got the short end. They pay less taxes than most people who work 40 hours.
Than people that work for them.
Yeah, exactly. All the loopholes.
And that's been going on forever, Leah, and still it's nothing been done about it, you know, and still they're trying to cut what they will have to pay.
Exactly.
They're already not paying their fair share, and they want to cut into that even deeper. But
cut that.
You know, Colonel, you know, don't file your taxes and see what happens.
Oh Lord, yo.
Or you can file, but don't pay what you're supposed to pay.
Yeah.
They might not get you this year, next year, or the year after, but they're gonna. By the time they catch you, you're gonna owe a lot of money.
No. Yep. I know.
That's for sure. Yeah, this is going. I encourage everyone, like I said, to go and listen to Joy Reid tonight at 7:00 on MSNBC. As I said, unless they change the schedule because of the Republican convention coming up, but she's supposed to dissect Project 2025 this evening at 7 p.m. So get on there, listen, and learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's really informative, and she doesn't try to be like some commentators, be an expert on it. She'll bring experts on there to help explain it. You know, people that's proficient in constitutional law. You know, so you can depend on whatever comes out of there be something that you can will be a start of your education about what the project is really about and what you need to be concerned about.
Yes.
You need to be concerned about the whole project. I mean, it's
exactly.
It's
and concerned about the authors of the project. And look up the authors of the project. You need, if you follow that, if you just look at the history of those individuals, that's enough right there to make you scared, I should say, not scary. Okay.
Scared. Yes.
It's sad. But you know, and we know why this is happening, because of the number of people of color in this country has grown exponentially. And the thing about it is that the numbers of non-color people of color, those numbers are going down, and they're fighting every way they can to maintain power. Whatever they can do to maintain power. And it didn't have to be that way. It really doesn't have to be that way. You know? Instead of doing that, maybe you can come up with some plan where people can work together.
Yeah.
But for so long, they've treaded over individuals that there is no attempt to say, let's be inclusive and bring everyone to the table, and let's see how we can rectify the problems of America. That's not what they want. They want total power and control.
Yeah.
And please don't believe the hype about how many Black Americans, especially men, that are going to the Trump side. You know, those polls, it's some polls that's being put out by some Black posters that are more true to how we really feel, how we really going to vote. And that's what should be paying attention to in combination with those polls. Those polls that come out to say like that, it might be a small percentage of Blacks who they interview or who they talk to. And the polls can show anything that they want to show. So I think, Leah, you mentioned earlier about all the different groups, the Black Caucus and different groups that are
Hispanic
coming
caucus.
out showing their support for Biden. And so how could that be if, some of the Democrats are saying that their constituents are telling them, are pushing the fact why they're asking for Biden to step down. Now, this is definitely not the time for him to step down now after this, what happened this weekend.
But who are their constituents? Look at their constituents.
Yeah.
That tells the story right there. It's not a time for him to step down. If they felt Biden, they knew how old Biden was 4 years ago. Okay. If you didn't think that he could make it, you should have had a plan in place 4 years ago to make a transition. They didn't do that. You want to wait. He had one bad debate, and now you want to use this as a reason to ask him to step down. Those delegates, those 3,000 delegates are his delegates, unless he released them. And who he released them to, he's the one who makes that decision. If you go to the Democratic caucus, they just can't come in and arbitrarily take the 3,000 delegates. They can't do that, So who are they planning? Who are they looking? I mean, they're talking about Gretchen Whitmer. I think she's a wonderful governor. They're talking about Gavin Newsom. Love Gavin Newsom. So what do you mean? That means you're going to come in. You're going to put them in the lead spot. What are you going to do about Kamala? Does it mean you move her out completely?
Yeah.
She's been there for 4 years. You just move her out completely?
Yeah. Good. How come none of those people could beat him in the primary before he ran last time? There's supposed to have been some good candidates in there then.
Exactly.
And nobody impressed enough to. It was a landslide. So that was then. So now, and I've asked people, are you seeing the same Biden that you saw during that debate? There've been some times where he got names mixed up, but I'm an only child, and my mother used to call me a different name. It wasn't like it was 10 of us. I was the only one, and she would get me mixed up. So, those things happen. And if you want to nitpick at things like that and not look at the last 4 years of what has been done, I mean, you just out of tune. You just out of tune. You
James,
have to look at the last 4 years, and like I preach about, you have to do that locally as well. You have to look at the
yeah,
last 4 years, and a
yeah.
lot of people locally are looking at these last 3 months or how people are acting now.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what floats your boat, fine. But if you're not looking at the last 4 years, or you forgot about things that might have happened locally or nationally, or how people voted on certain issues that affected
Amen.
you 4 years ago or 3
Yeah.
years ago or 2 years ago, and you're basing everything on what's happening now, you're going to get what you get.
Yes.
And for the next 4 years. And you'll see how that cools down and how it reverts right back to the way it was. You see
Exactly.
all the niceties now,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Everybody wants.
that's typical.
Everybody's nice now. It's election time.
Yeah. I
Everybody's
mean,
lovely now.
I don't even think I'm watching the same
Yeah.
council meetings.
And
Yeah.
James, and locally, you seeing council people you've never seen, or it's been a long time since you've seen them at any community function. All of a sudden,
And they got
everybody's
shirt
showing
and
up.
tie on today. They got ties on now. They got
But
coat and ties on now.
Yeah.
But that happens. That's a political move that's been going on. Just like all of a sudden people showing up at churches, and then but that used to be a strong thing back in the '60s. But that's the only place we really had really strong voices was in the church. But after a while, it just gets to the point where are you just catering? Have you been to the church since then? You got 4 years to come back and sit in there and say nothing and just appreciate the people that voted for you. But all that's out the door now. You just got to, I can't say it enough. You have to look at the total picture of the 4 years that they were in office. Now, if you're satisfied with that, then go ahead and vote, for that person. I'm not going to take that away from you, but at least take a look at that and not base your vote now on what you'll see in the last months before the election, because everybody changes then. I've seen it over the years, and with a lot of different candidates, everybody changes. But you've seen candidates out there that've been the same throughout the whole 4 years. Not many, but that's just the way it is. But just take a look at that, and maybe we can bring up some of those issues again about what happened when people were upset about certain votes that were taking place, or certain moves that were made. And the last election, we took out, some that were voting that way that we didn't like. So look at that. And like I said, if you're satisfied with that, I have nothing against you. I'm not gonna turn my nose up to you and start speaking to you. That's just your opinion. I'm just asking you, just educate yourself.
Exactly.
Had to throw that in about the local thing, and we'll talk more about that. But all this stuff ties in, national and local stuff, and it's important to know. I'll say it again: how the candidates feel about national issues that can affect us here in the city of Portsmouth and Hampton Roads.
Exactly. But James, can I go back to something that you said of how they were nitpicking Joe Biden about messing up a name or forgetting a name? Isn't it amazing how the press focused so on him forgetting a name or can't complete his sentence, or well, we know he's been a stutterer since he was a child. He stutters, okay, and he's learned mechanisms to use in order to help him to get through with the stuttering. But they go through that, but yet Donald Trump can talk about sharks and wash machines and water coming out of the faucets and things of this nature, and they don't do a big focus on that. Yeah. There is no substance in any of the speeches that he gives but yet and still they're pounding on Joe Biden for missing a name. Talk about this man talking about whether you're gonna stay on a boat or jump in with the sharks. What does that have to do with your electability? What do they have to do with electability?
It's part of the propaganda from what the news media has done, because it's owned by the majority of the news media is owned by Rupert Murdoch, who is a right winger himself. him and his family. And so they've spent all from day one during Biden's presidency, tearing him down, calling him, you look at the propaganda they've used, the Biden crime family, when we know that the Trump mafia family, and they're basically a mafia family, just spent 4 years ripping off this country and selling our secrets and selling our country down the road. Case in point, Jerry, the son-in-law, $2 billion from the Saudis.
That's right. And they just got another major project over there to build a hotel over there.
Yeah. And that's all they did is use that to make money. Trump himself made sure that only places he traveled had to have a Trump hotel there. So, and then forced the Secret Service and all the 300 people that travel with, 300 to 350 people that travel with him to stay in Trump facilities at over the government rate, and which is not supposed to happen. And they just kept making money. Everything is about ripping this country off. Everything.
But you know, that's what he planned this time, Colonel. They did not plan to stay in the host city for the RNC. They planned to stay in Chicago in one of his hotels.
Yeah.
Which meant that he would make money while the RNC is going on. And it was only that once he made that statement and got embarrassed and realized that he really had to come back to the host city.
Yeah.
But his plan was not to stay in the host city. He was going to stay in his hotel where all the Secret Service have to stay and all of his entourage would have to stay. And he'll make money while the RNC is going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Shameful.
It is. It really is. And I'll tell you what, the next thing too is, you notice that most of the NATO countries are now saying that a lot of the secretive information, should Trump become president, they would not share that information with America because the fear of him giving the information to Putin or Viktor Orban or to those individuals. So they would not, if he becomes president, they would not share national secrets with him for fear that he would give that information to someone else.
Yeah.
Or sell it.
Yeah. And that's what all these secret meetings with Putin and Kim down there in North Korea, where they had no interpreters, no notes, no nothing. And so he cut all these deals behind the doors, behind closed doors, so nobody can know. You'll notice that Biden, all his meetings are out in the open, and they're secretive, but there are notes what he turned over to the appropriate authorities back in this country. There's nothing secretive about this stuff, all above board. But this mafia guy, Trump, convicted felon, who was once that these GOPers want to put back in office, and we got to keep saying that he's a convicted felon. You know what you got with him. It's going to be 10 times as worse. And so I fear for America. Matter of fact, on November 5th, on the 6th, or whatever date when he wins, we'll have to close up this show, because when he takes over the federal government in January 23rd at 12:01, shows like this cannot or will not be able to be shown. Because by the time we ended it, here it is 7:33, 7:35, you'll have a knocking on the door.
And we have to go underground.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's our show, and thanks everybody thanks co-hosts for participating, and thanks for everybody watching who participated with the comments today. We really appreciate that, and we'll see you next Monday. Next Monday, as we continue talking about national and local politics and whatever else happens during the week. We never know what's going to happen during the week, so
things happen too fast.
Yes, happens too fast. And please remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share this show so people who didn't get up early this morning can watch it. And even if you're watching and doing the replay, put your comments there as well, so we see those as well. So thank
James,
you.
can I
Go
say
ahead.
one thing before we go? On Saturday, I attended the First Lady's chat, coffee and conversation. And the guest speaker was Ann Holden, who is the wife of Tim Kaine, and Ralph Northern's wife was also there. It was a wonderful morning conversation
Wasn't her
about
father the governor at one time?
her father was the Republican governor of Virginia.
But he did a lot
And
as a
he did a
Republican
lot.
governor.
He was, like as she said, Republicans were not like back then. Were not like the Republicans of today. Her father did a lot for Virginians and for people of color. But Ann Holden was the guest speaker, and Bobby Scott spoke, and it was a good time as a reminder that it's women who really can make a difference in this election, because women can go and they can galvanize their children, their friends, their neighbors. And we have to do that, people. We have to do it on the local election. We have to do it on the national election. We got to get out here and we got to get this thing mobilized. We got to get out here and work for these candidates to make sure that we sustain a democracy in America.
Yes.
And Leah, I have to mention, I wanted to mention this before, but you can't let this go by. You went to an event for Horace Savage, Coach Horace Savage, and I forgot that he was actually turning 99. I remember we had him on the show, and he was like 95 or 96,
Yes.
and I just lost track of the time. And he had a event or birthday party at the
Birthday
casino
celebration.
where he was
Surprise
turning
birthday.
99, and he walked in there, probably drove there.
July 1st, walked in, drove there. And not only that, he drove, he had lunch. I had lunch with him on Friday, and he drove to where we had lunch on Friday. And it's such a good thing to sit down and talk with him and to hear his story. You know, and I'm thankful that he's choosing to share his story more. Because he's done a lot. He's done a lot to make changes in Virginia. He's integrated a lot of places where he was one of the first to become members, like the Rotary Club, the Torch Club, and things of that nature. So I'm telling you, people, sit down at the feet of your elderly. Sit down. They have stories to tell, and they're stories that you need to hear. But July 1st, he turned 99.
And he did a lot to prepare people for a local office in the Van Leco group that he did for many years. So, so just wanted to mention that. 99, Coach Horace Savage. And Colonel, any last comments before we go?
No, I mean, we've summarized it, but I just want to put it out there. The stakes are high.
Yes.
The highest they've ever been. Our democracy, and it's not any hyperbole, is at stake. Our freedoms are at stake in this next election. And we really got to get out there, because it is, I would say, life over if we let this man and his party comes back into power. So we need to beat them at the ballot box badly in this next league, and also not to fall for the crap that they're going to be teaching, talking about turning down the temperature and how they're going to bring unity to this country. They don't want unity in this country. They just want to divide this country and just destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I got to say.
Okay, thanks, Colonel, and thanks everybody for watching. And please continue to support us and make sure you subscribe or tell your friends to subscribe. We're still trying to grow after all these years, and please support us. You see the information scrolling across the bottom. If you want to support us financially and help us take this to another level. What we do here, and we bring a lot of different people, co-hosts, guest co-hosts on. Some people that might be experts in some of the areas that we subjects that we cover, and to make sure you get the best information you can get. And it's not just all our opinions. It's some of the experts we bring in that have the knowledge about some of the subjects that we bring to you. So we're just not giving you false, fake news. We're giving you, and also giving you an opportunity to participate as our viewers. And we're working to do that more in order to bring a viewer up during our live shows. This platform has a way to do that. And we're working on that, and also working on a contest for people that watch, so that randomly pick people who are watching. So we would give out a prize, mostly, I guess, a cup to you, coffee talk cup. So keep on watching and be involved with us, and please make your comments like you did today. We appreciate them. It really adds to the show when we get comments from you telling us exactly how you feel, and we're just not talking to ourselves. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.